Matter.
Hello and welcome to Dads Matter, Understanding Dads, supporting fathers across Norfolk by explaining the mechanics of our children's brains and how this affects their behaviour and how we can help. This is number 2 in the series. Do you remember the horse and jockey? Today we're going to talk about how our environment affects our brain, or our jockey. Biopsychosocial. That means that everything is connected. Your body affects your mind, which affects your environment, which affects your mind, which affects your body, which affects your body, which affects your mind, which affects your environment, and your environment affects your body, it's all connected. If your environment is cold, then your body will feel cold and your mood will be affected. The horse bit of the brain develops in the womb, and in the womb, the biopsychosocial effect has already begun. If mum is stressed, then her stomach will produce high levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. This will raise levels in the baby too, which can reduce growth and lead to the baby being born prematurely. The mother's stress may also lead to the baby being born stressed, unable to sleep with its horse rearing up and without a trained jockey. Here are 2 examples of how our environment affects our minds and bodies. In the 1980s, there was a Romanian dictator called Ceausescu. He decided he wanted more Romanian children. So he banned all forms of birth control, and this did create more Romanian children. But due to things like poverty and sickness, these children ended up in orphanages. Some suffered chronic neglect. They were just tied to beds and ignored. And because these children had no one to talk or play with, they didn't learn how to communicate. However, the children that were either near the door or by the window were not so badly affected. This was because they at least had human contact or could see out the window and watch the world. The children in the middle of the room had had no stimulation and therefore had not developed human behaviours. But bad things can be reversed if we create a positive environment. An experiment in the 1970s conducted by Bruce Alexander into addiction in rats. The first experiment was conducted using isolated lonely rats in horrible cages. These rats were given the choice between water laced with heroin and water. They found that the isolated rats preferred the drugged water and soon became addicted. So, Bruce created a rat park with plenty of food, friends and toys. Bruce's happy rats were given the same choices of drinks, but they chose the water. Then, in a further experiment, Bruce took the addicted lonely rats out of their horrible cages and put them in with the other rats, and they found that they too chose to drink the water, proving that by making a happy environment with friends, food and fun, we can positively affect minds and bodies. And that's biopsychosocial. Thanks for listening.